The detention facility on Station Helix 9 operated under strict protocols established by the Galactic Confederation Security Council. Chief Interrogator Carr then had worked in the facility for 18 standard cycles, overseeing thousands of interrogations across hundreds of species. He understood the psychological and physical pressures that could be applied to extract information while remaining within legal boundaries established by interstellar law. His species, the Vectori, were ideal for this work. They stood 3 meters tall with dense muscular structures and exoskeletons that allowed them to operate comfortably in gravitational fields up to 8 times standard. Their multiple sensory organs could detect minute changes in subject physiology indicating stress, deception, or breaking points. They were patient, methodical, and utterly professional. Carr then reviewed the file on his newest subject with his usual thoroughness. A human. Female. Age 22 standard years. Name, Sarah Chen. Suspected of involvement with smuggling operations in the Outer Rim territories. Arrested during a raid on a known trafficking hub. She had refused to cooperate with initial questioning and had been transferred to Helix 9 for enhanced interrogation. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic stage. Their homeworld Earth had been contacted only 40 years prior and they had been granted provisional membership in the Confederation 30 years ago. They were considered a Category 5 species, meaning moderate physical capabilities and no exceptional advantages. Their baseline gravity was 1 standard unit, about average for carbon-based life forms. They were fragile compared to heavy world species but more durable than low-gravity dwellers. Carr then had interrogated 2 humans previously. Both had been male, both had cooperated before he needed to employ serious pressure. He expected similar results from this subject. Humans lacked natural armor or enhanced strength. Their pain tolerance was moderate. They typically responded well to environmental stress. He made his way to interrogation chamber 7. The room was a perfect cube, 10 meters on each side, with walls of reinforced durasteel. Artificial gravity generators were embedded in the floor, capable of producing fields up to 15 times standard gravity. Monitoring equipment lined the ceiling, sensors that would track every physiological response from the subject. A simple metal chair sat in the center of the room, bolted to the floor. Sarah Chen was already secured in the chair when Carr then entered. She wore standard detention clothing, a gray jumpsuit that provided minimal protection or comfort. Her wrists and ankles were bound to the chair with electromagnetic restraints. She looked up as he approached, dark eyes meeting his primary visual organs without flinching. Carr then activated his translator implant and addressed her in Galactic Standard. "I am Chief Interrogator Carr then. You have been brought here because you refused to cooperate with lawful investigation. I am authorized to use enhanced interrogation techniques to obtain necessary information. These techniques are uncomfortable but not permanently damaging if you comply quickly. Do you understand?" "I understand that you think I know something," Sarah replied. Her voice was steady, no tremor of fear. "But I've already told the arresting officers everything. I was in the wrong place at wrong time. I'm not part of any smuggling operation. Your story is inconsistent with evidence. You were found in a secure area of the facility. You possessed access codes that should have been impossible for a civilian to obtain. You match the description of an individual seen meeting with known traffickers. Coincidences? I can explain all of it if anyone would listen." Carr then had heard similar claims thousands of times. Subjects always claimed innocence initially. Most changed their stories when pressure was applied. He moved to the control panel on the wall and began adjusting settings. "We will begin with basic environmental stress. The gravity in this chamber is currently set to 1 standard unit, comfortable for your species. I will increase it gradually. When you are ready to provide truthful information, indicate so and I will reduce the field. If you continue to refuse cooperation, the pressure will continue to increase. At higher levels you will find it difficult to breathe, to move, even to remain conscious. I recommend honesty. Sarah's expression didn't change. Do what you need to do. I can't tell you what I don't know. Carr then activated the gravity generators. The field increased smoothly to 2 standard units. Most species began showing signs of discomfort at this level. Increased heart rate. Labored breathing. Visible strain in musculature as their bodies struggled against the added weight. Sarah sat quietly. Her breathing remained steady. She tested the restraints casually, not struggling but seemingly curious about their strength. After 30 seconds she looked up at Carr then again. Is something supposed to be happening? Carr then checked his monitors. Her vital signs showed minimal change. Slight increase in heart rate, well within normal parameters. No indication of distress. He increased the field to 3 standard units. At 3 times baseline gravity most subjects were in significant discomfort. The human should be feeling as if her body weight had tripled. Simple actions like breathing or maintaining posture should require noticeable effort. Sarah shifted in her chair, adjusting her position slightly. Okay, I can feel that. Is this the enhanced interrogation part? Because I've had worse at the gym. Carr then's translator might be malfunctioning. The statement made no sense. He checked the gravity generators. They were functioning correctly, producing a measured 3.02 standard units. He looked at Sarah more carefully. Her physiology appeared unremarkable for a human. She was approximately 1.7 meters tall with a lean muscular build. Her file listed her mass as 68 kilograms. Nothing exceptional. Yet she showed no signs of significant distress under triple gravity. You claim this is not uncomfortable, Carr then said. I mean, it's noticeable. I feel heavier. But uncomfortable? Not really. I grew up in a heavy gravity environment. This feels pretty normal actually. Carr then accessed the human database. Earth's gravity was listed as 1.0 standard units. Unless the human was lying, which his sensors suggested she was not, this made no sense. He increased the field to 4 standard units. Sarah took a deep breath, deeper than before. Okay, now we're talking. This is getting up there. Reminds me of home. Your homeworld has standard gravity. Your species baseline is 1 unit. Yeah, Earth average is 1 standard. But I'm not from Earth average. I'm from a heavy gravity colony. New Guangdong. It's a mining world with 1.2 standard gravity naturally, and we lived in the deep mining complexes where they kept the gravity higher for the industrial equipment. Grew up in about 1.4 standard gravity. Spent my whole childhood in it. Carr then processed this information. A 10% increase in baseline gravity, sustained from childhood, would produce physiological adaptations. Denser bone structure. More efficient cardiovascular system. Enhanced muscular development. But that should only account for tolerance up to perhaps 2 standard units comfortably. That does not explain your current tolerance. I have increased the field to 4 units. You should be experiencing significant distress. Sarah considered this. Huh. Yeah, I guess 4 standard would be what, about 3.2 times what I grew up with. That should be harder. She paused. Can I ask you something? How long has it been since you updated your database on human physiology? The Confederation Medical Database is updated annually. The most recent human data was submitted 8 months ago. Right, but humans have only been in space for what, 40 years? And we've been spreading out to colonies with different gravity for maybe 30 of those years. How much data do you really have on humans who grew up off Earth? Especially on heavy gravity worlds. It was a valid question. Carr then accessed the detailed medical files. The majority of human physiological data came from Earthborne specimens. There were notes about colonial adaptation but limited comprehensive studies. The species was simply too new to the galactic community for extensive documentation of all variations. I will increase the field further, Carr then decided. Your cooperation will spare you discomfort. He brought the gravity up to 5 standard units. At this level, most species would be completely immobilized unless they had specialized adaptations. Even his own vectory people would find 5 units challenging for extended periods. Sarah grunted softly. Her breathing became more labored, chest rising and falling with visible effort. But she remained conscious and alert. After a moment she spoke again, voice strained but clear. Okay, this is actually pretty intense. You could maybe back it off a bit and we can talk. Progress. Carr then reduced the field to 4.5 units as a gesture of potential cooperation. You are ready to provide information? Sure. What do you want to know? Your involvement with the smuggling operation. I've told you, I'm not involved. I was hired as cargo handler. Legitimate work. I didn't know the facility was running illegal operations until security showed up. I'm a victim here, not a criminal. The monitors indicated truth as far as Carr then could determine. But that didn't mean she was entirely innocent. You had access codes to secure areas. Given to me by my supervisor. I assumed they were authorized. How was I supposed to know they were stolen? You met with known traffickers. I loaded cargo onto ships. Yeah, some of those people might have been criminals. I loaded cargo for hundreds of people. I didn't run background checks. Carr then increased the gravity to 6 standard units. Sarah's face contorted slightly. Sweat appeared on her forehead. Her breathing was heavy, each breath requiring visible effort. The restraints groaned as her body mass pressed against them. But she didn't break. Didn't cry out or beg him to stop. She just sat there, breathing hard, waiting. You are remarkably resistant, Carr then observed. Training, Sarah managed. Grew up heavy. Joined military at 18. They sent me to Tactical Response Division. Know what they do? They train soldiers in high-grav environments. Build strength and endurance. I spent 3 years training in 6 to 8 standard units. This sucks but I can handle it. Military service. That hadn't been in the initial file. Carr then accessed deeper records. Yes, there it was. Sarah Chen, enlisted in Earth Defense Forces at age 18. Served 4 years, honorable discharge. Specialty, heavy gravity operations. The database noted that human military had begun specialized training programs for extreme environment combat. This complicated things. If the human had genuine military conditioning for high gravity, his usual techniques would be less effective. But everyone had limits. He increased the field to 7 standard units. Sarah's eyes widened. Her whole body tensed against the pressure. For the first time she looked genuinely uncomfortable. Her breathing became shallow, rapid. The monitors showed elevated stress indicators. But still she remained conscious. 7 units, Carr then said. Most species would be unconscious at this level. Your bones should be at risk of fracturing under your own body weight. Yet you persist. Why protect criminals who clearly did not protect you? Not protecting anyone, Sarah gasped. Just don't know anything useful. Check my story. It's all true. Carr then was beginning to believe her. The interrogation had been proceeding for 20 minutes and her story remained consistent. The physiological indicators suggested honesty. But he needed to be certain. He made a decision that was somewhat unusual. I am going to release your restraints. The gravity will remain at 7 units. If you can stand and walk to the door, I will believe you are telling the truth and we will end this interrogation. If you cannot, you will admit your involvement and provide complete information. Agreed. Sarah looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. If I can walk in 7 standard gravity, you'll let me go. I will believe your story has merit and we will proceed with standard verification rather than enhanced interrogation. Yes. Deal. Carr then deactivated the electromagnetic restraints. Sarah's arms dropped to her sides like dead weights. She sat for a moment, breathing hard. Then, slowly, she gripped the arms of the chair. Her muscles strained visibly as she pushed herself up. It should have been impossible. 7 times her body weight meant she was effectively trying to lift nearly 500 kilograms. But she stood. Shakily. Every movement clearly requiring enormous effort. But she stood. Then she took a step. Her legs trembled. Sweat poured down her face. But she took another step. And another. Moving like she was wading through thick mud, but moving. Carr then watched in genuine amazement. In his 18 cycles of service he had never seen a Category 5 species function in 7 standard units. It shouldn't be possible without powered assistance or specialized physiology. Sarah made it 3 meters before her legs started to buckle. She caught herself against the wall, breathing in ragged gasps. This is actually really hard. Can you maybe turn it down a little? Carr then reduced the gravity to 5 units. Sarah immediately straightened, breathing more easily. She stretched her arms over her head, working out the tension. Thanks. That's much better. So are we done here? How is this possible? Carr then demanded. The human baseline cannot support this level of function. Earth baseline can't. Heavy colony with military conditioning can. Look, humans are really good at adapting to different gravity. It's kind of our thing. Our ancestors evolved in 1 standard gravity, but we're not locked into it like some species. Put us in low gravity, we adapt. Put us in high gravity, we adapt. It just takes time and training. She walked normally in the 5 standard units field. Not easily, but normally. As if the crushing weight was merely inconvenient rather than debilitating. During my military service, Sarah continued, I spent 6 months stationed on a fortress moon. Natural gravity was 1.8 standard units. They kept the training facilities at 7 to 8 units for conditioning. By the end of deployment I could run in 7 units. Not fast, but I could do it. The human body is incredibly adaptive if you push it consistently. Carr then accessed the medical database again, searching for information on human adaptation. The data was sparse but suggestive. Humans showed remarkable plasticity in response to environmental pressures. Their bones could become significantly denser. Their cardiovascular systems could increase efficiency by notable margins. Their muscular systems could develop far beyond baseline specifications with proper training. The Confederation assessment classified humans as Category 5, Carr then said. Moderate capabilities. This performance suggests higher classification. Sarah shrugged, a gesture that looked casual even under 5 times normal gravity. Maybe you assessed us wrong. Or maybe we're better than you thought. Humans are good at being underestimated. We like it that way. Carr then made a decision. He deactivated the enhanced gravity field, returning the chamber to 1 standard unit. Sarah immediately relaxed, rolling her shoulders and stretching her neck. Thank you. Seriously. 1 standard feels amazing right now. I believe your story requires proper investigation, Carr then said. You will remain in custody while we verify your claims. But enhanced interrogation is suspended. You have demonstrated either exceptional innocence or exceptional training. Either way, This approach is ineffective. I could have told you that before you crushed me for 20 minutes. Could you? Most subjects claim they will not break under pressure. Few are correct. Fair point. Carr then escorted Sarah back to her cell. It was a standard detention unit, 3 meters by 3 meters with basic amenities. Sarah entered without complaint. Before the door sealed, Carr then addressed her again. I have a question. If you are truly innocent, why did you agree to the challenge? You could have simply continued to refuse under the enhanced gravity. Eventually I would have been required to release you for medical reasons. Sarah smiled, a human expression involving exposed teeth. Because I knew I could do it. And because I wanted you to see that humans are tougher than you thought. Maybe next time you'll think twice before assuming we're easy to break. The door sealed. Carr then stood in the corridor processing the encounter. He had been doing this work for 18 cycles. He understood pressure and resistance and breaking points. But the human had operated outside his entire frame of reference. He returned to his office and began a comprehensive review of Sarah's story. Her employment records checked out. She had indeed been hired as a cargo handler 3 weeks before the raid. Her supervisor had been arrested and had confessed to providing stolen access codes to multiple workers, not just Sarah. The security footage showed Sarah loading cargo in designated areas, never entering restricted zones voluntarily. After 6 hours of investigation, Carr then concluded that Sarah Chen was exactly what she claimed to be. Wrong place, wrong time. An innocent worker caught up in someone else's crime. He processed her release personally. Sarah collected her personal effects and stood in the processing area looking slightly uncertain. So I'm free to go. You are released without charges. The Confederation apologizes for your detention. You will receive standard compensation for time held and any damages incurred. Does damages include being crushed under 7 times my body weight? That is considered within acceptable interrogation parameters. However, given your demonstrated innocence, additional compensation will be provided. You will also receive a formal letter of apology. I'll frame it. Sarah headed for the exit, then paused. Hey, Carr then. Can I ask you something? You may ask. Why didn't you go higher? Your equipment can do 15 standard units, right? I saw the specifications on the control panel. If you really thought I was guilty, why stop at 7? Carr then considered the question. At 7 units you were approaching your physical limits. Further pressure would have risked permanent injury or death. Such outcomes are not permitted except in extreme circumstances involving existential threats to the Confederation. Smuggling, while illegal, does not qualify. So you're not actually a torturer. You're just really good at making people uncomfortable. That is an accurate summary of my function, yes. Sarah nodded slowly. That's something, I guess. For what it's worth, you're good at your job. You almost had me convinced to confess just to make it stop. But you did not. No. Because I didn't do anything wrong. And because I've been through worse in training. Military doctrine says that if you might be captured, you need to know you can survive interrogation. They prepared us pretty well. She left the facility. Carr then watched her go, then returned to his office. He spent the next hour composing a detailed report for the Confederation Security Council. The report documented the interrogation, the subject's unusual resistance, and his recommendations. Primary among those recommendations was a suggestion that the Confederation reassess its classification of human capabilities, particularly for humans raised or trained in non-standard conditions. Earth baseline humans might be Category 5, but humans with heavy gravity adaptation appeared to be significantly more durable. He also noted that human military forces were apparently training soldiers to function in extreme gravitational environments. This had implications for security assessments, military planning, and diplomatic considerations. A species that could fight effectively in 7 or 8 standard units had tactical advantages that might not be immediately obvious from baseline measurements. The report was filed and acknowledged. 3 days later, Carr then received a response from the Security Council. They had reviewed his findings and agreed that human capabilities required further study. A research team would be dispatched to document physiological variations among human populations. Updated protocols would be developed for interrogating human subjects. In the meantime, Carr then's work continued. He conducted 17 more interrogations over the following weeks. None involved humans. He found himself almost disappointed. The Chen interrogation had been genuinely interesting, a challenge to his understanding and methods. 5 weeks after Sarah's release, Carr then received an unexpected communication. A priority message through official Confederation channels. He opened it in his private office. The message was from Sarah Chen. "Hey Carr then. Hope this finds you well. I wanted to thank you for handling my case professionally. I know you were just doing your job, and honestly, you did it well. No hard feelings. I also wanted to give you a heads up. After my release, I was contacted by Earth Defense Forces. Apparently your report got their attention. They're interested in the fact that heavy grav training proved so effective during interrogation. They've asked me to join a new program developing advanced resistance training for personnel who might face enhanced interrogation. So in a weird way, you trying to break me has led to my dream job. I'm going to be teaching other soldiers how to be unbreakable. Pretty cool, right? Anyway, I included some information about the program in case you're interested. EDF is willing to share data with Confederation security. They figure better interrogation resistance makes for better soldiers, and they want galactic enemies to know humans are tough nuts to crack. Oh, and one more thing. I've been working out in 12 standard units lately. Just to see if I could. Turns out I can. Can't do much, mostly just basic exercises. But I can function. Thought you'd want to know that your 7-unit test wasn't actually my limit. Take care and maybe try to crush fewer innocent people. But if you have to crush them, I guess you do it as humanely as possible. Sarah Chen. Attached to the message were several files. Training protocols. Medical data. Performance assessments. Carr then reviewed them with growing fascination. The Earth Defense Forces had apparently concluded that high-gravity conditioning provided significant military advantages. Soldiers trained in extreme gravity were stronger, faster, and more durable when operating in standard conditions. They could carry heavier loads, fight longer, and survive injuries that would incapacitate unmodified personnel. The program Sarah now worked for aimed to produce soldiers capable of operating in up to 10 standard units. The long-term goal was 12 units, which would make them functional in environments that even most heavy world species found challenging. One file included video footage. Carr then watched Sarah demonstrating exercises in 12 standard gravity. She moved slowly, every action clearly requiring immense effort. But she moved. Push-ups. Squats. Walking. All under crushing pressure that should have been impossible for a human. In the video she looked directly at the camera and grinned. "This feels like home," she said. Carr then realized he was watching the emergence of something significant. Humans were actively engineering themselves to exceed their baseline capabilities. Not through genetic modification, which many species found ethically troubling, but through training and conditioning. They were pushing their natural adaptability to extremes. He composed a response to Sarah's message. "Thank you for the information. It is appreciated and will be shared with relevant authorities. I congratulate you on your new position. You will undoubtedly excel at teaching others what you have mastered yourself. I must note that your performance in 12 standard units is remarkable and concerning. Remarkable because it demonstrates human potential exceeds previous assessments by significant margins. Concerning because it suggests human military capabilities may be substantially underestimated by the Confederation. I hope Earth uses these capabilities responsibly. A species that can function in extreme gravity has advantages in many combat scenarios. Such advantages could change the balance of power in contested regions. Also, for your personal information, I have recommended changes to interrogation protocols for human subjects. Future interrogators will be advised that standard gravity-based pressure techniques are ineffective against humans with heavy world conditioning. Alternative methods will be employed. You have taught me valuable lessons about assumptions and assessments. I will not soon forget them. Carr then, Chief Interrogator, Helix 9 Detention Facility. He sent the message and returned to his work. But his mind kept drifting back to the human. To her casual strength under impossible pressure. To her statement that 12 units felt like home. What were humans becoming? Over the following months, Carr then watched human activities in the Confederation with increased attention. Reports filtered through security channels. Human colonies were being established on increasingly high-gravity worlds. Mining operations on planets with 1.5 to 2.0 standard gravity. Military installations on moons with hostile conditions. Agricultural projects in environments that would crush most species. Everywhere humans went, they adapted. They thrived. They pushed boundaries and expanded capabilities. Within 2 generations of leaving their homeworld, they had spread to environments that should have been beyond their capacity. The Confederation Security Council began reassessing human classifications. Discussions were held about appropriate categories. Some argued humans should remain Category 5, as their baseline capabilities hadn't changed. Others contended that a species whose conditioned members could function in 12 standard units deserved higher rating. The debate was still ongoing when Carr then received his next human subject. This one was male, age 35, suspected of industrial espionage. Carr then reviewed the file carefully. The subject had grown up on Earth in standard gravity. No military service. No apparent high-gravity conditioning. A Category 5 human by any measure. The interrogation proceeded normally. At 3 standard units the subject showed significant distress. At 4 units he was unable to stand. At 5 units he began confessing, providing detailed information about his activities. Carr then verified the confession and released the subject to custody of the appropriate authorities. So not all humans were super-resistant. Only those with specific conditioning. That was valuable information. 6 months after his initial encounter with Sarah Chen, Carr then was invited to participate in a Confederation security conference. The topic was emerging threats and evolving species capabilities. He was asked to present his findings on human interrogation resistance. The conference was held on a neutral station in the core systems. Representatives from 30 species attended, including several humans. Carr then prepared his presentation carefully, documenting his experiences and highlighting the implications. When his turn came, he stood before the assembled security officials and began. I wish to discuss human physiological adaptation and its implications for security protocols. 6 months ago I interrogated a human female suspected of smuggling. Standard pressure techniques proved ineffective. The subject was able to function in 7 standard units of gravity, far exceeding expected human capabilities. He displayed the data. Video footage. Medical scans. Performance assessments. The audience watched with evident interest. Subsequent investigation revealed the subject had grown up in 1.4 standard gravity and received military conditioning for high-gravity operations. This training allowed her to tolerate crushing pressure that would incapacitate most Category 5 species. One of the attendees, a Corinthian military official, interrupted. Are you suggesting humans should be reclassified based on specialized training? Many species can enhance capabilities through conditioning. I am suggesting that human adaptive capacity exceeds previous assessments. The gap between baseline and conditioned performance is larger than anticipated. A baseline human is indeed Category 5. But a conditioned human may be Category 3 or even Category 2 for specific metrics. Another official spoke up, this one a human. Carr then recognized the uniform as Earth Defense Forces, high rank. Chief Interrogator Carr then is correct. Human military has been developing high-gravity conditioning programs for several years. Our best performers can now operate in 10 to 12 standard units for limited periods. We believe with continued development we can push that to 15 units. The room erupted in discussion. 15 standard units was heavy world territory. Only a handful of species could function at that level naturally. If humans could reach it through training, it changed calculations about their military potential. The human official continued. We're not hiding this information. Earth Defense Forces is willing to share training protocols with allied species. We believe high-gravity conditioning could benefit many military forces. It's simply a matter of dedication and proper technique. Not all species can adapt as humans do, the Corinthian official objected. Our physiology is more fixed. Training provides only marginal improvements. Then perhaps you should consider recruiting humans for high-gravity operations, the human replied. We're available and apparently quite good at it. More discussion. Carr then listened as military officials, security experts, and diplomatic representatives debated the implications. Humans had been in the Confederation for only 40 years and already they were forcing reassessments of established protocols. The conference concluded with several resolutions. Human capabilities would be studied more comprehensively. New classifications would be developed accounting for conditioning and adaptation. Training programs would be examined for potential application to other species. And interrogation protocols would be updated to account for human resistance. Carr then returned to Helix 9 feeling he had witnessed something historically significant. The balance of the Confederation was shifting subtly but definitely. Humans were establishing themselves not as another minor species but as a people with unique valuable capabilities. 3 months later Sarah Chen visited the station. She contacted Carr then directly, asking if they could meet. He agreed, curious about what she wanted. They met in a neutral area, a common room where station personnel could relax between shifts. Sarah looked different than during her detention. More confident. More comfortable. She wore an Earth Defense Forces uniform with insignia Carr then didn't recognize. Thanks for meeting me, Sarah said. I'm on the station for a few days running training demonstrations. Thought I'd stop by and say hello. You are well. Very well. The resistance training program is going great. We've got 40 soldiers now who can operate in 10 standard units. 5 who can do 12. I'm one of them. She smiled. Remember when you thought 7 was my limit? I remember. You have clearly continued to develop your capabilities. That's actually why I wanted to talk to you. My program is expanding. We're going to start training non-humans. Several species have requested access to our protocols. And we need consultants who understand how different species respond to pressure. I thought of you. Carr then was surprised. You wish me to assist with training programs. You're good at pushing people to their limits without breaking them. That's exactly what we need. Plus you've got experience with dozens of species. You know their physiology and psychology. That knowledge would be invaluable. I am an interrogator, not a trainer. You're an expert in pressure tolerance and breaking points. That translates. Look, I'm not saying quit your job. Just maybe consult part-time. Review our protocols. Provide feedback. Help us understand how to adapt the training for different physiologies. Carr then considered the offer. It was unusual but not unprecedented for Confederation security personnel to work with military training programs. And the work did align with his expertise. I would need authorization from the Security Council. Already got it. I contacted them before coming here. They think it's a great idea. Cross-pollination of security and military knowledge, they called it. Then I accept. On a trial basis. We will see if my contributions prove valuable. Sarah's smile widened. Excellent. I think you'll find it interesting. We're not just teaching people to survive pressure. We're teaching them to thrive in it. To find strength they didn't know they had. Over the following year, Carr then divided his time between interrogation duties and training consultation. He reviewed human high-gravity protocols and provided input on adaptations for other species. He observed training sessions and offered suggestions based on his understanding of physiological limits. The work was fascinating. He watched soldiers from a dozen species push themselves far beyond their baseline capabilities. Some species adapted better than others. The Velcroni with their flexible skeletal structure proved excellent students. The Porthen with their efficient cardiovascular systems showed remarkable endurance. Even the Corinthians, who had claimed their physiology was too fixed, managed modest improvements. But humans remained the standouts. Their combination of structural adaptability, efficient metabolism, and psychological resilience made them ideal for extreme conditioning. And they seemed to genuinely enjoy the challenge. Where other species trained out of duty, humans trained with enthusiasm. Sarah demonstrated this repeatedly. Carr then watched her run obstacle courses in 12 standard gravity. Watched her lift weights under crushing pressure. Watched her spar with opponents while carrying 7 times her body weight. And she smiled through it all. During one session, Carr then asked her about this. You seem to enjoy the suffering. Why? Sarah paused her workout, breathing hard in 10 standard units. It's not suffering if you choose it. This is challenge. This is me proving I'm stronger than I thought. Every time I break a personal record or master a new skill in high gravity, I feel amazing. It's accomplishment. Most beings seek comfort, not hardship. Maybe that's why humans spread so fast. We don't just accept hardship. We seek it out. We climb mountains because they're there. We explore dangerous places because they're dangerous. We push our bodies to extremes because the extremes are interesting. It's what makes us human. Carr then thought about that explanation as he watched her return to her exercises. Perhaps Sarah was right. Perhaps humans were defined by their willingness to embrace difficulty. To find strength in struggle. It was a very different philosophy from his own species. Vecturi valued efficiency and logic. They accepted necessary hardship but did not seek it. The human approach seemed almost irrational. But it was undeniably effective. 2 years after his initial encounter with Sarah Chen, Carr then attended another Confederation security conference. This one focused on updated species classifications and revised threat assessments. The human classification had been officially changed. Humans were now listed as Category 5 for baseline individuals but Category 3 for conditioned military personnel. The documentation noted that elite human units with extreme gravity conditioning could match or exceed Category 2 species in specific environments. The change was significant. Category 3 species received greater consideration in military planning and alliance structures. Humans would have access to enhanced defensive technologies and more favorable trade agreements. Earth's status in the Confederation had materially improved. During the conference reception, Carr then found himself approached by several human officials. They thanked him for his contributions to understanding human capabilities. One senior military commander told him directly that his initial report on Sarah Chen had sparked the research that led to the reclassification. You saw what we could become before we fully realized it ourselves, the commander said. That assessment helped us focus our development efforts. We owe you a debt. Carr then deflected the praise. I merely documented what I observed. Sarah Chen demonstrated the capability. I simply ensured others understood its significance. Still, your role was important. Earth won't forget it. After the reception, Carr then returned to his quarters and drafted a personal message to Sarah. She was currently stationed on a fortress moon in the Outer Rim, commanding a heavy gravity response unit. I attended the Confederation Security Conference today. The human reclassification is now official. Your species has achieved recognition as a significant military power, in part due to capabilities you helped demonstrate. I am told Earth status in the Confederation has improved substantially. This will bring benefits to your homeworld and colonies. You should feel proud of your contribution. I have been reflecting on our first meeting. At the time I believed I understood the limits of species physiology. You proved my understanding was incomplete. You taught me that assumptions based on baseline measurements can be profoundly wrong. That given proper conditions and motivation, beings can transcend expected limitations. This is a valuable lesson, applicable beyond interrogation techniques. It applies to diplomacy, to science, to all interactions between species. We must not assume we know what others are capable of simply by measuring their baseline state. Thank you for that lesson. And thank you for not breaking under 7 standard units of gravity. Your resistance changed more than you realize. Carr then. The response came 3 days later. Hey Carr then. Thanks for the kind words. Glad I could help humanity's image by being too stubborn to confess to crimes I didn't commit. That's probably not how they'll write it in the history books, but that's fine. You taught me something too, you know. You showed me that I was stronger than I thought. When I was sitting in that chair at 7 units, barely able to breathe, ready to give up, something in me decided to stand anyway. I discovered I could do things I didn't think were possible. That discovery led me here. Led me to this career and this life. I'm commanding 30 soldiers now, all of them operating routinely in gravities that would have seemed impossible a few years ago. We're the best heavy grav unit in Earth Defense Forces. We're unbreakable. And it started with you trying to crush me in an interrogation chamber. Life is weird like that. Anyway, I wanted to let you know I'm coming back to Helix 9 next month. We're doing a major training demonstration for Confederation military observers. 15 standard units this time. We've been building up to it for 6 months. 5 of us can do it now. We're going to show the galaxy what humans are capable of when we really push ourselves. You should come watch. I think you'll enjoy it. And Carr then. Thanks for believing me when I said I was innocent. I know interrogators hear that all the time. But you investigated instead of just assuming I was lying. That matters. See you next month. Sarah Chen, Commander, Heavy Gravity Response Unit 7. Carr then read the message twice, then marked the demonstration on his schedule. He would definitely attend. He wanted to see what 15 standard units looked like. Wanted to witness how far humans had pushed their capabilities. And perhaps more importantly, he wanted to see Sarah succeed. The human who had walked in 7 units gravity when it should have been impossible. The human who had taught him that baseline measurements were just starting points. The human who felt at home in gravity that could crush steel. It was going to be quite a demonstration.